Luca Paolini es estratega jefe de Pictet Management. Luca, thank you so much for having us a few minutes. A pleasure.
Hi.
Luca, we are looking at next year and making a reflection about this 2022. But do we see or must see 2023 as a year of low growth and falling inflation? What is the main outlook of Pictet Asset Management for the coming year?
Well, thank you for having me today. And yeah, it's going to be 2023 a year of very weak growth. Actually, we say of economic stagnation pretty much across Europe and the United States. So growth will be very close to zero. Inflation is going to fall quite significantly in both Europe and in the US. But probably not enough to make central banks comfortable enough to cut rates and ease monetary conditions. So it's going to be a year that is going to be much better than this one for investors, but still not a great year for investors. So a year of challenges, but also with some opportunities.
Year of challenges, and which are your perspectives for equity markets?
Well, we expect equities to be marginally positive next year after what has been a very negative 2022, mainly because we think that the decline in inflation should boost valuation, should reduce risk premium in the markets. But at the same time, we don't see positive earnings growth. So all the upside for equities will come from dividends and from the increase in valuation. So not much upside, but again, compared to what we have seen this year, a clear improvement.
Luca, defensive growth in markets.
Yes, the temptation will be to anticipate the recovery and the economic recovery that we see towards the end of next year. And I think it's far too early. We still have central banks hiking rates. We still have economic data that is very weak. Earnings are going down. So I think it's still better to be defensive, to avoid stocks that are very cyclical, and most of all, to have stocks or sectors that are quality, so low leverage, defensive, and that's how we are positioned right now, at least for the next 6 months.
Which behavior do you expect for emerging markets?
We think that these are probably the good news, because we think that for the first time in many years, there is a set of conditions for the outperformance of emerging markets that are all in place. And I can mention one: the dollar is peaking, and we know when the dollar is getting weaker, that's good news for emerging markets. China, which is obviously the big elephant in the room, China is reopening. It's going to be very difficult, very bumpy. We know that. But the Chinese economy is reopening, and there is a lot of pent-up demand. Basically, the Chinese consumers haven't been able to spend to enjoy traveling for 2 years, and this is going to happen next year. And then there is the valuation aspect of it. So I think that for emerging markets, it could be a positive year, both on the equity side and on the bond side as well.
You are speaking about China. We await signals from China, signs of economic reopening, leaving behind its zero COVID policy. You tell us that China will be forced to reopen its economy. Is it a clear bet for 2023?
Look, it's not going to be easy. We have the same experience in Europe, in Spain, but even here in the UK. It's not going to be easy. There will be possibly, hopefully not, a COVID exit wave. So there could be obviously problems in terms of the health system. People will feel insecure. But the market back then, I remember in 2020 and 2021, correctly anticipated this gradual reopening. And I think in China, we're going to see the same. And the government is almost forced to reopen because of social, political, and economic reasons. So we feel confident that this reopening will happen, and will be also positive for Chinese equities especially.
From Pictet Asset Management, do you have a strategy on investment rate in the US?
When we look at the US, first of all, we think that bonds, government bonds, treasuries, and corporate bonds, short-term government bonds will have a good year. When you look at the US, we expect government bonds and short-term and investment-grade corporate bonds to deliver positive returns, but we're talking about 3 to 5%, so nothing spectacular. But we also think that when we look at the rest of the market in the US, equities will probably have some positive returns, but nothing spectacular. So I think for the US, probably it's better to be focused on bonds, while for other regions, especially Europe, there is probably more potential for equity than definitely for bonds.
Paolini from Pictet Asset Management, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.